So this is going to be another movie review. This one's called "I Spit on Your Grave," 2010. Giving this 5 stars. I like this better than the original. The remake is actually better. "I Spit on Your Grave" is a 2010 U.S. rape and revenge horror film and a remake of the controversial 1978 cult film of the same name, originally titled Day of the Woman. It was directed by Stephen R. Monroe and written by Stuart Morse, based on the original film. Director, writer Meyer Zackel's screenplay, and it stars the great Sarah Butler, the A-cup white woman, who does show off a little bit of full frontal. Adrian's got his pause button working overdrive. This is an Adrian mention, by the way. I don't remember if he actually recommended this one or he just said, "Oh, by the way, there's a remake." Similar to how he told me, "Oh, by the way, there's a Wizard of Gore remake and it's rubbish." This one is not rubbish. It stars Sarah Butler, Jeff Branson, Daniel Franzi, Rodney Eastman, Chad Lindbergh, Tracy Walter, and Andrew Howard. It was distributed by Cinetel and produced by the company's president and CEO Paul Hertzberg, Lisa Hansen, Jeff Klein, Alan Ostrov, Gary Needle, and Mir Zarki, director of the original, served as executive producer. And I might add there are 2 sequels to the remake and 1 sequel to the original, which has a very low IMDb rating, by the way. The sequel to the original, "I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu." It's a very low rating on IMDb. Principal photography began on November 2nd, 2009, with location filming taking place in Louisiana. "I Spit on Your Grave" had its premiere on Texas Frightmare Weekend on May 1st, 2010, and it was theatrically released in the United States on October 8th, 2010 by Anchor Bay. We like Anchor Bay Entertainment on this channel. The film received negative reviews from critics, and it grossed $572,809 on a $2 million budget. It was a financial flop. The film was followed by 2 sequels: "I Spit on Your Grave 2," 2013, and "I Spit on Your Grave 3, Vengeance is Mine," 2015. Both with Sarah Butler. We like Sarah Butler on this channel. Matter of fact, I added all the I added all of her movies on the bottom of my list just now because she's so extremely hot, and the revenge scenes are so brutal. I wish they would have shown more nudity in this one. Novelist Jennifer Hills travels from New York City to Louisiana to work on her next book in privacy. The gas station attendant, Johnny Miller, gives her directions to her rented cabin, played by the great Tracy Walter from Repo Man. The gas station attendant. Oh, I'm sorry. No, the gas station attendant Johnny Miller is not played by Repo Man. I stand corrected. He embarrasses himself by trying to flirt with her when the cabin's plumbing becomes clogged. It is fixed by Matthew Duncan, a stuttering plumber with an intellectual disability. That's a cute way of saying he's retarded. She rewards him with a abrupt kiss of gratitude. Bad mistake. Matthew tells Johnny and his friends, Andy Cresney and Stanley Woods, about what happened with Jennifer, that she's a slut and she'll kiss any retard. Johnny, whose ego was bruised after the gas station incident, decides that Jennifer is snobbish and needs to be taught a lesson. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but this is the Louisiana backwoods. That night, the four men sneak into the cabin to taunt and to assault her, although Matthew refuses to participate. He's kind of shriveled up in the corner. She escapes into the woods and bumps into the local sheriff, Storch, and Earl, the owner of the cabin. Earl is played by the great Repo Man actor Tracey Walter. Now I got the characters and the actors straight. Storch takes Jennifer back to the cabin, but when he finds her drugs and alcohol, he casts doubts on her story. After Johnny, Matthew, Andy, and Stanley return, all five men gang rape her, including an initially reluctant Matthew. He's the first one. Who thus loses his virginity. Stanley records everything with his video cam. This is pretty wild and a little cringy. Afterwards, just as Storch is about to shoot her dead, a naked and degraded Jennifer falls into the river to escape. Yeah, after she gets raped in the booty by the by the sheriff. Like I said, not too much nudity, a lot of off-camera raping stuff, and intentionally misguided camera shots and hair covering up her nipples. Unfortunately, there's a kind of long scene where she's kind of walking around butt naked, and all you can see is her front side, and her hair is covering up her nipples, which is unfortunate because she's got the doorknob-sized nipples, the perfect A cup, if you know what I mean. Jennifer begins to stalk her rapists in order to learn details of their lives. Stanley tells Andy and Johnny that his camera has been stolen, along with a videotape of their assault. So the sheriff thought he stomped on it, but it was just a blank tape. And the dumb hick from Louisiana had the original the whole time. Storch intercepts a videotape sent to his wife. Storch confronts the men to find out who sent it. He stuffs the tape into Fatso's mouth. Johnny and Andy suspects Matthew. When they go hunting, Storch shoots and kills Earl, fearing that he may have suspicions about the perpetrators of the rapes. Poor Earl. He gets a mere cameo in this one. He's a great actor. Matthew returns to the cabin. Matthew meets Jennifer, who, despite her apology, strangles him. Despite his apology, strangles him unconscious. She captures Stanley in a bear trap, ties him to a tree, smears fish guts on his face, and then leaves his camera to record crows pecking out his eyes, which she pinned open with fish hooks. That's a crazy scene, and it's not off camera. She then drowns Andy and burns his face in a live bathtub. Next, she ties Johnny to the rafters of an abandoned house and uses plier to pull his teeth out and a pair of pruning shears to emasculate him, leaving him to bleed to death. And she shoves his chopped off dingling in his mouth. While torturing them, she repeats the taunts of all the men had used on her. Boy, Jennifer isn't a turn the other cheek type Christian girl. Jennifer visits Storch's wife, posing as their daughter Chastity's new teacher. She takes the daughter to the park, and when Storch tracks her there, she knocks him unconscious. When he wakes up, Jennifer stuffs his shotgun into his anus and reminds him that she was just as innocent as his own daughter. We don't know what happened to its daughter. That was this is right about the end of the movie, and we still don't know what happened to the sheriff's daughter. She attaches one end of the string to the trigger and the other end to the wrist of the still unconscious Matthew, who is seated in front of Storch, and she leaves the premises. When Matthew wakes up, he sees the bound sheriff, and he tries to move, triggering the shotgun, which fires around through Storch's anus and mouth before hitting Matthew in the chest, killing both men. Like I said, this movie is brutal. I think it's more brutal than the original. The only thing that made the original 1978 movie stand out was just the rape scene was like the first 15 minutes, and it was relentless. And it was cringy. I think it was more cringy than this. But this one has more cringy revenge and brutal gore. Principal photography began on November 2nd, 2009, under Stephen R. Monroe's direction. The film was distributed by Cinetel and produced by the company's president and CEO, Paul Hertzberg, Lisa Hansen, Jeff Klein, Alan Ostroff, Gary Needle, and Mir Zarchi, director of the original, served as executive producers. Location filming took place in Louisiana. The film was written by Steve Morse, based on Zarchi's screenplay. Distributed by production company Cinetel Films. Distributed by Anchor Bay Entertainment. Release dates May 1st, 2010 at Texas Frightmare Weekend, and October 8th, 2010 in the United States. Running time 108 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Budget $2 million, and box office of a pitiful $572,809. Cinetel Films handled the 2010 worldwide theatrical release. The film was part of the Texas Frightmare Weekend on May 1st, 2010 in the Sheraton Grand Hotel in Irving, Texas. And part of the film for Fright Fest on August 29th, 2010. The Canadian unrated version premiered at the Fantasia International Film Festival on July 20th, 2010. The complete cast and Mir Zarchi, director of the original, were present. An unrated version opened theatrically in limited theatrical release on October 8th, 2010 in the United States. Coincidentally, another unrated horror film, Hatchet 2, opened a week beforehand. Hatchet 2 is a great movie. with practical effects. I might add, I saw Hatchet 2 and it blew me away. The film's video release in the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK is handled by Anchor Bay Entertainment. The DVD and Blu ray were released in the US on February 8, 2011. The DVD includes an audio commentary by director Stephen R. Monroe and producer Lisa Hanson, as well as 11 deleted scenes and teasers and trailers. In Germany, the film was placed on the list of media harmful to young people, restricting the added access to adults only. Critical reaction to the film has been generally negative, with a 31% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 62 reviews, with the consensus simply labeling it as a well-shot exploitation that has less purpose and utility than in 1978. On Metacritic, the film was assigned a rating of 27 based on 14 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. Roger Ebert gave the film a 0-star rating, as he did the original, and described it as the despicable remake of the despicable 1978 film. He stated that it added a phony sense of moral equivalency. I'll rape you, I have committed a crime. If you kill me, you have committed another one. The ideal outcome would be two people unharmed in the first place. While he allowed that the movie was made professionally, as opposed to the original version that was devoid of skill and artistry, he considered this largely in the service of the truly offensive material, the rape scenes. He summarized, this version is more offensive because it lingers lovingly and at greater length on realistic verbal, psychological, and physical violence against the woman, then reduces her revenge to cartoonish horror flick impossibilities. We like cartoonish horror flick impossibilities on this channel. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote, in addition to all the obvious things that are disgusting about this movie, I Spit on Your Grave is trying to get us to hate each other. Hate it instead. It makes more sense, and the hatred is much more deserved. Critic Andrew O'Hare also denounced the notion that the film has a message, writing that it just piles imaginary atrocities on top of the real ones, and then half-heartedly claims that it means something. Well, it doesn't. Well, Sarah Butler getting naked is good enough for me. I don't know about you. Some support for the film in the mainstream press came from the New York Times, whose reviewer wrote, female empowerment fantasy are just plain prurience. Grave is extremely efficient grindhouse. Yeah, we like grindhouse on this channel. V.A. Musetto from the New York Post also offered some support for the film, stating, if you can't handle it, see it. If you can handle it, see it. I should say. Like the original, the film did not find cult support. Fangoria magazine wrote that I Spit on Your Grave is just a raw and upsetting in its on-screen brutality as the original. I think it's even more brutal, perhaps more so since the acting is significantly better this time around. A sequel titled I Spit on Your Grave 2, directed by Stephen R. Monroe, was produced and had a limited theatrical release on September 20th, 2013. I have it on my movies list. This film does not feature Sarah Butler, so I stand corrected. She's in the third one, not the second one. The film's plot concerns a young aspiring model named Katie, played by Gemma Delender, who accepts an offer to have photos taken for her modeling portfolio. The events turn into a nightmare of torture, rape, and kidnapping, with a revenge plot similar to the first film. In March 2015, Anchor Bay Entertainment announced the third installment in the series, titled I Spit on Your Grave 3 Vengeance is Mine. Sarah Butler returned to her role as Jennifer Hills, and R.D. Braunstein directed the film. All right. Here we go. I Spit on Your Grave, rated R, 2010, 1 hour, 48 minutes. It gets an okay 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 100,000 ratings. In terms of popularity, it does have a cult following on streaming service, Tubi. It's ranked 1,251 in terms of popularity. And I posted the Tubi link and the trailer in the description. Highly recommended. Check it out. A writer who is brutalized during her cabin retreat seeks revenge on her attackers who left her for dead. She just fell into the river, and 1 month later, she magically appears again. No More Miss Nice Girl. Here's a review from Coventry, who gives it a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. The title of the review is No More Miss Nice Girl, from Coventry, dated November 14th, 2011. It's very popular to hate the nowadays trend of horror movie remakes, but you always have to bear two things in mind. If we would collectively stop watching them, Hollywood wouldn't make them anymore. And there exists some remakes that are truly worth watching, even though they still can't hold a candle to the original. Stephen R. Monroe's update of one of the most notorious cult movies ever made is such a remake. Miyazaki's original is a bona fide cult monument. You either love it or hate it, but you can't deny it. It's a powerful, shocking, and unforgettable film. Yeah, like the first 15 minutes are relentless. You either love the remake is perhaps not as memorable. I think it's more so, but it definitely does contain a few sequences that are extremely brutal and hard to digest, especially in comparison to the remake of the other notorious 70s classic Last House on the Left, which is rather soft and intended for wider audiences. This film is exclusively meant for experienced horror fanatics with a strong stomach and nerves of steel. That's us. The plot is commonly known. I presume Jennifer, a young writer in search of inspiration for her second novel, withdraws herself to a remote cabin in the Louisiana backwoods area. Upon her arrival, she immediately draws the attention of the local tough guys working at the gas station, as well as the mentally handicapped, retarded handyman Matthew. He knows how to fix the bathroom sink and the toilet. A few days later, Jennifer gets humiliated and brutally gang raped by the four men. And even the local authority figure. Oh, we've got some police corruption going here. The so-called Christian father figure. He likes dookie in the booty. A few days later, Jennifer gets humiliated. What follows is her hardcore to the bone vengeance, clearly executed with a deep hatred and zero morality whatsoever. Yeah, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, quite literally in this one. The crows are pecking at the fatso's eyes. The I Spit on Your Grave remake blends the raw atmosphere of the original with the more modern horror trend of torture porn. The revenge that Sarah has prepared for her assailants are carefully planned and imaginative death traps to assure a maximum of agony. Some of the death sequences, like, for example, the acid bathtub or the eye picking, would make even the jigsaw killer of Saw jealous. I have not seen the Saw series, but it does look like torture porn. The trailers, I mean. Sarah Butler makes a strong impression in her role as not so vulnerable young girl, and it's definitely a courageous performance. I'm a big Sarah Butler fan. I'm all in to see more of her naked movies. I hope she'll still find other roles without forever being known as the I Spit on Your Grave girl. Nothing wrong with that. The rapists, on the other hand, are not as repulsive as they ought to be. Their performances aren't too memorable either, with the exception of Andrew Howard as the rotten sheriff. His whole character is a nice addition to Zarki's original script, as a matter of fact. Yeah, that sheriff dude, I think he's got a split personality or something. Something's wrong with him. He thinks he's a family man, but then he's gotta rape this girl in the booty because he likes Dookie in the booty. The writer Jennifer Hills rents an isolated lakeside cabin in the woods of the peaceful Mockingbird Trail for 2 months to write a novel. 2 days later, she is brutally gang raped by three local bigots, the sheriff, and a handyman. Bigots? I think they're just dumb hicks working at the gas station, or they're corrupt sheriff or retarded handyman. Jennifer returns late to revenge against the rapists. That's the storyline from Claudia Carvalho in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Taglines: it's date night. Genres: horror and thriller. Rated R for pervasive, strong, sadistic, brutal violence, rape and torture, nudity, and language. In the final shooting script, Jennifer was intended to arrive at the cabin with her dog, and it was to be featured heavily during the introduction of the film. The dog was written out of the script last minute because hiring a trained dog for the intended shooting schedule would put the movie over budget. According to director Stephen R. Monroe, the dog would have made more money than anybody on the movie. At around 1 hour, 30 minutes during Johnny's torture scene, his real teeth are visible above the fake ones. Quotes from Storch crying, "She's just an innocent girl." Jennifer says, "So was I." The UK release was cut. The distributor was required to make a total of 17 cuts during 3 separate scenes of sexual violence in order to remove potentially harmful material, in this case, shots of nudity that tend to eroticize sexual violence and shots of humiliation that tend to endorse sexual violence by encouraging viewer complicity in sexual humiliation and rape. In order to obtain an 18 classification, cuts made in accordance with BBFC guidelines and policy An uncut classification was not available in the UK. This was edited into I Spit on Your Grave, Vengeance is Mine. 2015. I guess that's I Spit on Your Grave 3 with the great Sarah Butler. More like this. I Spit on Your Grave 2. I Spit on Your Grave, Vengeance is Mine. I Spit on Your Grave, and I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. I've already seen the 78 version. I'm not going to review it. I may have done a YouTube Yahoo review that got vaporized. I don't remember. But I do have the other 3 movies on my movie list at the bottom. I'm just discovering these remake sequels and the original sequel. Soundtracks Moccasin Blues performed by Further Down, written by Michael Lee Collins, Robert Aaron Rigsby, Dustin Allen Dorton, Joshua Kane Copeland, Pete Matthews, and Charles Mooney Jr. Published by Charles Mooney Jr. BMI. Release date June 17, 2010 in Poland. Country of origin United States. Language English, also known as Dolce Venganza. Filming locations Louisiana, USA. Production companies Intel Films and Anchorbait Films. I thought Anchorbait was actually the distributor. Budget of $2 million estimated. Opening weekend US and Canada, 32,440. Gross US and Canada, $93,051. And gross worldwide, $1,278,650. So we've got some IMDb statistics concerning the ticket sales that are not consistent with Wikipedia. But it's still a financial flop in terms of theatrical release. It may have recouped some money from the streaming service. Like I said, you can watch it for free, so it's not in super high demand, but it is rather popular on Tubi. To be or not to be? That is the question. Runtime 1 hour 48 minutes, 108 minutes. Sound mix Dolby Digital and aspect ratio 2.35 to 1. So there you have it, my I Spit on Your Grave review. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I know I'm a big Sarah Butler fan now. I got to see all of her movies on To Be or Not to Be. That is the question. All right. First on my list is Mother Teresa, No Greater Love, 2022. I'll try and squeeze that one in Monday night. Then number 2 is The Peacekeeper, 1997, followed by number 3, My Favorite Brunette, 1947. Those are the next 3 on my list. Adrian says he's reporting from jail. On my last Dolph Lundgren movie review, the mediocre movie I saw, I can't remember the name of it. The Karate Man recommendation. So I had 2 days of really bad catechism. I had to correct a couple of the teachers there at the archdiocese because they're giving out misinformation on baptism and Pentecost. Um, yeah. Plus, I asked a gazillion questions. I'm probably not a good representation of IHM and Belmont, but I tried. I went along with it. I tried my best to understand what was happening, and I couldn't. There's just too many inconsistencies and falsehoods that are being taught in the Catholic Church. And I tried to be charitable and correct them, and I just turned out to be an annoying an annoying fringe Catholic, I guess. No other way to describe it. So that's what I've been doing since Friday night. Really haven't had a chance to watch review movies because I've been so busy. But next weekend I have a doctor's appointment, so that's the only setback. I'm going in for a lab test Monday morning. I have to fast 8 hours, no drinking or eating for 8 hours. That's going to be brutal on Monday. And tomorrow is church day, but I'll try to update my list with some more Canon films on the bottom. Karate Man likes Canon films if it's action. If it's like some breakdance movie or The Apple, forget it. Karate Man's not interested. Or what was that teenage movie? I forgot. It was really good though. Anyways, that's the end of my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Highly recommended. Check it out. Links in the description. Laters.